What if I told you that the most important thing you'll ever understand about life is also the one thing your mind will fight hardest to accept? That buried beneath your daily routines, your anxieties, your goals and dreams, lies a paradox so profound it could undo everything you think you know about existence and rebuild it from the ground up. That's what Alan Watts discovered. And that's what we're going to explore together. But I have to warn you, once you see this, you can't unsee it. Because Watts' mind-bending insight isn't some intellectual trick or esoteric idea. It's a direct challenge to the way you've been taught to perceive yourself and reality. It's a complete inversion of the story we've all been sold. And the paradox is this: you are simultaneously in control of nothing, and yet responsible for everything. You are the dancer and the dance, the player and the played. But before we unravel what that means, we have to go back to the beginning, your beginning. From the moment you were born, you were taught to believe you were a separate individual, a little consciousness floating around in a body, navigating a world that exists out there. You were told that you had to do things, make things happen, succeed, achieve, control your destiny. But at the very same time, life kept showing you that control was an illusion. You made plans, and they fell apart. You tried to be good, and still bad things happened. You chased happiness, but it slipped through your fingers like water. And this created a tension inside you, a quiet, gnawing confusion. If I'm supposed to be in charge of my life, why does so much seem beyond my control? That's where the paradox begins. And that's where Watts steps in with a truth so radical. It doesn't just answer the question, it dissolves it altogether.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound insights.
Watts taught that the idea of a separate self is an illusion. Not in some mystical woo-woo sense, but in the most practical way you can imagine. He said, "You are not a stranger here. You didn't come into this world, you came out of it. Like an apple from a tree, like a wave from the ocean. You're not separate from life, you are life." So the paradox is that while you feel like an isolated consciousness making decisions, the truth is you're being lived. You're not pulling the strings, you are the strings. You're not the creator of the moment. You're the moment itself. You're not the drop. You're the ocean, pretending to be a drop for a little while. And if that's true, then what does it mean to make a choice? If I'm not separate from the universe, am I really choosing anything at all? Or is the universe choosing through me? Here's the twist that will blow your mind. It's both. You are not the controller in the way your ego wants to believe. But neither are you a helpless puppet. You are the unfolding, the spontaneous expression of everything that came before you. You are the entire cosmos manifesting as a human being, right here, right now. And that's the paradox. You are responsible, but you're not in control. Let's break that down. Imagine you're watching a movie. You're completely absorbed in it, laughing, crying, feeling the tension. But deep down, you know it's not real. You're watching a story. In the same way, your life, your story, is a film being projected on the screen of awareness. You're in it. You're experiencing it. But you're also the one watching. So who are you really? The character or the screen? Watts said, trying to define yourself is like trying to bite your own teeth. The mind can't grasp it, because the mind is it. But when you stop seeking the answer in thought, and instead rest in awareness, the paradox resolves itself. You realize you're not a thing in the universe, you're the universe being a thing. You're not walking through life, you are life walking itself. This changes everything, because it means you don't need to fight life. You don't need to resist what is. You don't need to control every outcome. Instead, you can begin to trust the flow. Not in a passive let go and do nothing kind of way, but in a deeply engaged, responsive, intuitive way. You start to dance with life instead of wrestling it. And in that dance, you discover something even more powerful. Life is not happening to you. Life is happening as you. But here's where it gets even deeper. This paradox doesn't just apply to the big metaphysical questions. It applies to your everyday experience. And take anxiety, for example. When you believe you're a separate self who has to control everything, anxiety becomes inevitable. You think, what if I fail? What if I don't get what I want? What if I lose everything? But the moment you remember that you are not the controller but the unfolding itself, something shifts. But you still act, you still care, but you no longer live in fear of the unknown. Because you are the unknown, and the unknown is not your enemy, it's your true identity. So the next time anxiety shows up, don't fight it. Don't try to fix it. Ask instead, who is this happening to? Who am I without this fear? Can I see this fear as part of the dance, not a mistake, but a movement of life expressing itself through me? Now, let's talk about control, because this is where most of us get stuck. We believe that if we don't control things, they'll fall apart. But Watts flips this completely. He says, the desire to control is itself a form of fear. And fear is based on the false belief that you are separate. But if you are the flow of life itself, what is there to control? Can the river control its current? Can the tree control its growth? Can the stars control their burning? No, they are their processes, and so are you. So here's a question that could change your life. What would you do differently if you stopped trying to control things? Not because you gave up, but because you finally understood that control is not the goal. Presence is. And presence leads us to the ultimate practical insight. You can only ever live in the now. The past is a story. The future is a fantasy. The only real thing is this moment, right now. But we spend most of our time trying to escape the now, either by chasing the future or regretting the past. And in doing so, we miss the only place where life ever actually happens. Watts said, this is the real secret of life, to be completely engaged with what you are doing in the here and now. And instead of calling it work, realize it is play. That's the paradox again. Life becomes most meaningful not when you strive for meaning, but when you play, when you dance, when you show up fully without needing to know how it ends. So what's the takeaway? What's the practical advice in all this cosmic poetry? It's simple. Wake up. Let go of the illusion of the separate self. Trust the flow. Act with awareness. Play with life. And realize that the paradox is not a problem to solve, it's a truth to live. You are the universe. You are the dance. You are both the question and the answer. And the moment you stop trying to escape the paradox, you begin to live it. Fully, freely, joyfully. But before we end, I want to leave you with a final question. One that you can carry with you into your next experience, your next thought, your next breath. If nothing you've ever believed about control, identity, or separation were true, what would be left? What would remain if you stopped pretending to be someone and simply allowed yourself to be? The ultimate twist in Alan Watts' mind-bending secret is this: you are not on a journey to find truth, or peace, or enlightenment. You are not climbing towards some divine mountaintop, chasing a future version of yourself who finally has it all figured out. You are not broken, not lost, not behind, because the answer you're looking for is you. And this is the paradox that unravels the entire illusion we've been trapped in. The seeker is already what it seeks. That sounds like a riddle, right? But it's not. It's the most grounded, life-altering realization you can have. You don't need to become something. You already are. You don't need to fix yourself. You need to see yourself. Because the one who is searching, striving, struggling, that very eye is the illusion. That's the character in the story. And the moment you stop identifying with the character, you wake up as the author. Or even more accurately, you wake up as the page on which the story is written. Let's slow this down, because it's huge. We've been conditioned to believe that fulfillment lies out there, in some future moment when we finally get it right, when we're finally healed, finally enlightened, finally enough. So we chase money, love, success, spiritual experiences, even philosophical understanding. But every time we catch something, the satisfaction is fleeting. A few moments of "I did it," followed by the return of the gnawing hunger for more. Why? Because we've mistaken the map for the territory. We've mistaken the finger pointing to the moon for the moon itself. The mind is trying to grasp what can't be grasped. And the more you chase, the more you reinforce the illusion that you are separate from what you seek. But you're not. You've never been. When Alan Watts said, "You are it," he meant it literally, not metaphorically. You are the very mystery you're trying to understand. You are the silence behind the noise, the awareness behind the thought, the stillness behind the motion. You are not a person having an experience of life. You are life, having a temporary experience of being a person. And once you see that, the entire game changes, because then you can stop chasing and start being. You can stop resisting and start responding. You can stop seeking and start seeing. But here's the catch: this realization doesn't come through effort. It comes through dropping effort. It doesn't come from adding more beliefs. It comes from letting go of the ones you already have. It doesn't come from becoming something new. It comes from remembering what you've always been. So ask yourself, what if there is nothing to add to yourself? What if the only thing in the way of your freedom is the belief that you're not already free? Let's go even deeper. Imagine you're in a dream. Everything seems real. The people, the buildings, the emotions. But then something strange happens. You realize you're dreaming. You don't wake up physically. You wake up within the dream. You become lucid. That's what spiritual awakening is. It's not escaping the world. It's seeing the world for what it is, a play of consciousness, a dance of form and emptiness, a dream that's no longer mistaken for reality. And when that happens, everything shifts. You still play the game, but now you play with awareness. You still feel pain, but now you know it's not who you are. You still see the character, but now you know you're not confined to it. You are the dreamer. You are the screen. You are the light behind the show. So how do we live this? How do we land this wisdom in real life, in relationships, in work, in pain? First, we watch. We become the witness. Not detached, not disassociated, but present and fully aware of our inner world without identifying with it. When anger arises, we say, "Ah, anger is happening." Not "I am angry." When fear arises, we say, "Fear is present." Not "I am afraid." This simple shift in language points to a deeper truth. You are not your emotions. You are the space in which emotions arise. But you are not your thoughts. You are the awareness aware of thinking. This isn't just semantics, it's liberation. Second, we stop resisting what is. Resistance is the root of suffering, not pain itself, but the story that pain shouldn't be there. When we resist reality, we create a split in our being. We create a war between what is and what should be. But reality doesn't care about your shoulds. It just is. So what if, instead of fighting it, we met it with curiosity, with openness, with trust? What if we began to see every experience, not just the pleasant ones, as part of the unfolding mystery? That doesn't mean we become passive. It means we become aligned. We act from presence, not from panic, from clarity, not from fear. Third, we remember to play. Watts emphasized this over and over again. Life is not a task to be completed, but a play to be enjoyed. The universe didn't create you to accomplish something. It created you to express something, to explore, to dance, to sing, to weep, to laugh, to create, to destroy, to begin again. Every tree, every cloud, every bird is an expression of cosmic creativity. And so are you. So don't take it so seriously. Don't grip so tightly. Let it move through you. Let it surprise you. Let it teach you. And finally, we surrender, not as defeat, but as devotion. We bow to the mystery. We stop needing to know, to understand, to control. We simply show up, fully, here, now. Because here's the final paradox. The more you try to awaken, the further you move from the truth. But the moment you let go, you're already there. The seeker dissolves. The search ends. And what remains is what's always been this moment, this breath, this mysterious, overflowing, radiant presence that has no name and needs none. This is what Watts meant when he said, "You are the universe experiencing itself in the form called you." So I'll leave you with this. What if you stopped trying to become and simply allowed yourself to be? What if all your striving, all your seeking, all your spiritual ambition was just a clever way of avoiding the truth that you are already whole? Can you feel that? Not as a thought, not as a concept, but as a direct experience. Can you let go of the mind's need to grasp and instead fall into the mystery? Can you trust that what you are is beyond words, beyond time, beyond birth and death? This is not the end of the journey. It's the end of the illusion that you ever needed to journey at all. You are the answer you've been looking for. You always have been. Here's the part that most people resist. Yet it's the most liberating truth you can ever encounter. To be truly free, you have to let go of you. Not just your name, your story, your identity, but the very idea that there is a solid, separate self at the center of your experience. That's the final disappearance. And that's what Alan Watts was pointing to all along. He didn't want you to become someone better, more enlightened, more spiritual. He wanted you to see that the very one trying to improve, trying to become, is the illusion, the obstacle in disguise. The ego is not a villain. It's a character, a mask, a role. Useful, yes. Necessary, maybe. But real? No. And when you see that, not as an idea, but as a direct experience, everything changes. What remains when the story of me dissolves? Not nothing. Not emptiness in the cold, nihilistic sense. What remains is everything. The vast, open, radiant now. Your awareness. The same awareness looking out of every pair of eyes, behind every thought, beneath every heartbeat. Not personal, not yours, just being. Now, this might sound terrifying, because we've spent our entire lives clinging to the self. We protect it, defend it, promote it, polish it. We spend years building a better me, a more lovable, more successful, more impressive me. But deep down, we know it's fragile. We know it's temporary. We know it can all be taken away in a moment. That's the fear we carry, even if we don't name it. But here's the paradox. The very thing we fear, losing ourselves, is the key to absolute freedom. Because when you let go of the illusion of self, you stop living as a frightened, isolated entity trying to survive. You start living as life itself, free, spontaneous, alive. Alan Watts said, "To let go of yourself as a separate ego is to let go of fear and unnecessary pain." So how do we do it? How do we let go of the self, when the self is the one trying to do the letting go? That's the trap. The ego can't dissolve itself. It can only try to co-opt the process. But it'll say, "Okay, I'll let go of ego, so that I can be free." But that's still ego. That's still the game. The only way out is to stop playing, not through effort, not through willpower, but through seeing, through paying such close attention to your experience that the illusion unravels on its own. Watch your thoughts, watch your emotions, watch your sensations with curiosity, but with no judgment, and you'll begin to see they're not you. They arise, they pass, you don't control them. They happen, like clouds in the sky, and who is watching them? That's the mystery. That silent, open awareness, that's the real you. Or rather, it's what you truly are when the illusion of you disappears. Have you ever lost yourself in music, nature, in art, in love? Those moments where time stops, where you dissolve, and only the experience remains. That's it. That's the truth. That's your natural state. The ego returns, of course. It always does. But now you know it's a visitor, not the master. The Ginid Visa. You can smile at it, play with it, use it when needed. But you don't have to believe it anymore. You don't have to suffer under its weight. You can live from presence, from stillness, from truth. And here's the most beautiful part. When the self disappears, love appears. Not the romantic, clinging kind. Not the kind that says I love you because you make me feel good. But the kind that says, I am you. Because when there's no self, there's no other. There's just the one, appearing in many forms. When the illusion of separation dissolves, compassion becomes natural, kindness becomes effortless, forgiveness becomes inevitable. Not because you're trying to be good, but because you see that every person, every creature, every tree and river and cloud is you in another form. And how could you not love that? So let me ask you something almost absurdly simple. Who are you without your name, without your history, without your thoughts? Not who do you become, but what remains when all that falls away? Sit with that question. Not to answer it, but to let it answer you. That's the doorway to awakening, not some future state, not some higher version of yourself, but the end of the illusion that you were ever separate in the first place. Watts would often use the metaphor of the ocean and the wave. You are not a wave trying to become the ocean. You are the ocean in the form of a wave. Temporary, yes, but not separate, never separate. And when the wave crashes, it doesn't die. It returns to what it always was. So even death, even the end of this body, is not the end. It's a return, a transformation, a continuation. You were never born in the way you think, and you will never die in the way you fear. This realization doesn't mean you float through life detached and blissed out. It means you engage more fully, more boldly, because now you're not acting from fear. You're not protecting a fragile identity. You're expressing the infinite. You're living as truth. And that's what the world needs. Not more people chasing enlightenment, but more people living it, being it, right now, in the messiness, in the beauty, in the ordinariness of daily life. So here's your invitation: let go. Let go of the need to control. Let go of the need to understand. Let go of the story of who you think you are, and fall into what you truly are, not as an idea, but as a direct, lived, breathed experience. Trust that life knows what it's doing, because you are life. Trust that awareness doesn't need fixing, because it was never broken. Trust that love doesn't need to be earned, because it's your nature. Trust that the final disappearance of the self is not a tragedy but a homecoming. And if you're still wondering, but what will be left of me? Here's the answer: everything that's real, men, everything that's eternal, everything that's true and beautiful and free. What disappears is the illusion, the suffering, the fear. What remains is what you've always been. So now, I'll leave you with the final question, the one that ends the search. If you are not the one who is thinking, not the one who is acting, not the one who is controlling, then who are you? Don't try to answer. Just look, just be. And maybe, just maybe, you'll realize there is no you.